Welcome to our horse starting series. This is Kay that I'm working with. So we start out by tacking her up, and then I go ahead and I put her bridle on. I usually do hers right now out in the round pen because she's been a little bit sticky about taking the bit, and I feel like it makes it a little bit like a work time situation. I usually keep a rope halter on my youngsters, and then I will kind of thread a bridle through and underneath so that it's not, uncomfortable for them, but so that I have both the halter and the bridle on them. I prefer a regular noseband with a flash. I don't really crank it super tight, but I think it stabilizes the bit a little bit. And this session was Kay's very first session in long lines. So I go through and I put the long lines on her. I do it kind of in a very particular way so that if she were to turn away or something, I could grab her and have both set of lines on one side so that we don't end up in a pickle from the get-go. Ideally, they stand a little bit better than she did. She's a little bit of a wiggle worm still. She's a little hot and just a little bit insecure still in everything. She has already, free lunged at this point. She has lunged in side reins, so she's had contact in the bridle, but she's never had a little bit like the rider touching her. And so a little bit in this session, I wanted her to kind of just get a taste for it. Initially, I kind of just let her go loosely in the lines, but then as we went, I kind of started taking her a little counterflexion into the rail to kind of slow her down a little bit because she likes to kind of run around like speed racer. She thinks that moving her feet really fast will kind of make her feel more secure. So in this session, I kind of started doing that. You'll see that she gets a little resistant when I start taking that outside rein like there. And I just kind of hold it a little bit quietly. I don't want to create this pulling contest or anything, but I kind of hold it until she slows down and kind of relaxes a little bit, and then I give it back because she has to learn a little bit that we can't just run away from everything because it's new. The other big thing with long lining is teaching them to turn, and she a little bit struggled with it. A lot of my horses have come to me and they've had previous driving history, and so this is super easy for them. But she is completely, blank slate, was bred by us. And so she's a little bit struggled. They have to turn into the rail when you're long lining them in a round pen like this. And, that kind of makes them claustrophobic. And as I kind of already noticed with her, the counterflexion into the rail kind of made her a little less than pleased. She felt a little claustrophobic. So it's just something that she has to get used to. Ideally, here I was able to kind of get her to slow down and kind of think about it from the walk instead of her running into it. I switched the whip into my front hand and I step towards her shoulder while taking a little bit of the outside rein. And I don't run at her. I don't freak out. She has her little moment there, and then I kind of just wait quietly until she turns, and then she gets a release again. So it's not really me trying to kind of force her into anything. It's just saying, no, try this instead. No, try this instead. I don't want her to feel overwhelmed and like she's being held back. I try to keep the lines pretty quiet, and I usually do a direct line at least for a long while like this. Generally with youngsters, you don't really need to do any sort of other kind of lines than this. This is usually the easiest version and the least likely to get tangled in my experience. But she eventually gained a little confidence, and then she started turning much more like that, which is much more what we want. And see how she kind of goes out of it and isn't like chaos. So that's we didn't want her to overreact, and we wanted her to slow down. So the first session with the long lines, I'm not going to canter her in the lines. She already cantered free lunging. I just wanted her to relax like this and then get a little bit the idea of the turning and a little slowing down with the outside rein. I then take off the long lines and I kind of go and poke at her and annoy her. She's a little bit of a princess and is a bit overreactive and sensitive. So with her specifically, it's really important that I kind of just do things to kind of make her feel a little bit annoyed almost, and just be oh, okay, well, whatever. We'll just get over this. We do use lots of treats in our training. When she does something well, she gets a treat. I get told she's a good girl. There's a lot of time for her to think about things. And then I also just been working a little bit on getting her to follow me and be attentive to me. I also take her bridle off in the round pin because she's a little head swervy, tossy, whatever. And so I want her to slow down a little bit with that. But, here she is following me. She seems pretty happy licking her lips. So that's the goal.